It's Mari. You are now watching the Bittersweet Betty podcast. This is a knitting podcast for those of you who are not related to me. I just wanted to say welcome and thank you to everybody who's new, and a big thank you to Chevis at the Chevirel Stuff podcast. She gave me a little shout out at the end of her show this week, and I've had a couple new subscribers, so that's awesome. Like I said, usually I just expect that people watching this are related to me or know me slightly in real life. So for those of you that are out in the great big world, welcome to my home and my little corner. And I'm going to just ramble on today, probably more than some other times, about just what I've been working on and what's going on in life. So, what have I been working on? So, the last time I was filming, and just also to iterate, if I say something that I think I've referenced before, so I actually tried filming this and didn't really like it, so I'm refilming it. So this is episode 4 of the Bittersweet Betty podcast. Yeah, I don't have an opening spiel, so if you're new here, I don't know what to tell you. My name's Mari. I'm in my mid-30s, live in North Carolina. I've been knitting for like 10 years and live in Raleigh with my husband and our 2 dogs and all that stuff. None of that's really relevant to the knitting, but in case you're new and you were like, who's this chick? And you wanted to know, that's kind of the real quick and dirty version of it. So, last thing I talked about as my work in progress was my Chuck sweater. So I was really close to finishing it last time I podcasted, and so I finished it, which it really didn't take very much time. I just had to finish up the sleeves. So I'm not wearing it because every single time that I podcast, I don't know if my body has a fear response or what, but I get really sweaty. And you guys are super lucky. Don't ever think I don't care about you, because I took a shower before I filmed this and I'm wearing a bra. So, you know, like, that's kind of a big deal for me most days. But I just kind of couldn't get to the point of wearing the sweater on air because I'm already sweaty. So I'm going to put in some photos here that I took of myself wearing it. It's awesome. I'm really happy with it. It comes down, you know, a little below my boobs and goes really well with things like I wore it the other day with a blue shift dress and jeans, and it was just like perfect for, you know, being a little cool. It goes well with a lot of my dresses and stuff for work, and so now I want like 5 of them. So, and if you wanted to see a little bit closer, it's got the 2 diamond shapes with the cables on the side, and then it is full length sleeves. And my intent is to wear this with a lot of fit and flare dresses that I have for work that are sleeveless. But I've already seen that it goes with quite a lot in my wardrobe, so I'm really excited about it, and already kind of contemplating doing another one, probably with a different center motif, but now that I've kind of modified the pattern and I really like the yarn that's knit in, I could totally see grabbing another couple skeins and doing another one in a color that would be really easy to wear with stuff. I don't know what that color would be, but I seem to be gravitating a lot toward navy right now because I have like 2 sweater quantities of navy. And I haven't knit any of them yet, so I probably should hold off on buying some navy yarn. So yeah, and it's knit out of shepherd's wool from Stonehenge Mills, which is a Michigan fiber mill, and their yarn is really affordable. Like, I think it ranges from like $12 to $15 a skein for 250 yards. So I will say it's a really great alternative to Cascade. Obviously they don't necessarily have the color range, but they have a really good color palette, all things considered. And so basically this sweater for me, size 54-inch bust, took 1,000 yards, so 4 skeins, so that's about $60 for me. It is cropped, so, you know, probably would have been another 2 skeins, I think. I did have a 5th one that I bought just in case, but I didn't end up using it. And yeah, I would totally recommend this sweater for anybody. Like, again, even if you're a fat lady like me, then depending on what you wear, you know, like, I probably wouldn't just wear this with anything. I would have to wear the right thing to feel comfortable in it. But if you tend to wear dresses or things like that and need something that can make your summer dresses all weather, then I would definitely say this is a good pattern for that. as I finish that, one thing that I've really been thinking about knitting is the Nurtured Sweater by Andrea Mowry. And so on the last podcast, I showed some Holst Garn yarn that I got, and I knit a swatch. And I was going to show you the swatch, but I realized it's under the tripod of my camera. So let me see real quick if I can scoot it out without shaking everything. Oh God. Oh God. Everything's going to go crazy. Okay, so this is my skein. I have no idea if you guys can see colors or anything in this. I've been recording on the weekends when it's still daylight out using some like regular daylight, and it's like 10 o'clock at night, and so I'm just using lamps in my house. So if this is really shitty lighting, I'm sorry. I have not done this long enough yet to decide if it's worth investing in the lights. So for right now, this is what you get. So, I think you can kind of see that. So it's kind of this dusty navy blue, and it's got a really interesting texture. And when you look at it this way, you can kind of see it looks kind of holey, which is not really ideally my aesthetic for sweaters. But I'll say two things. So the Holst Garn did sort of fluff up when I washed it. I don't think it did a ton, but it did pretty well. And this was with knitting with, it held double. So it's generally like about a fingering weight. And so holding two fingering weight together, you get about a worsted gauge. And I got gauge by going up a needle size. So I knit this on size 9, which I'm glad I'm saying that because I haven't written it down anywhere. So in case I forget, this is my one record of what I knit my swatch in. So the pattern is like the stitch pattern is not super fun to knit in the round because it involves like purling and carrying, but it's a different kind of construction. Like it's knit bottom up, and then you knit the sleeves first. So I think that's cool that she's doing that because that gives you a chance to kind of like knit a sleeve, and that's essentially your gauge swatch if you didn't want to do one. So you would know, if it's going to work, which again, like that's the thing that kills me about gauge swatches. It's like I could get a gauge swatch that's like a tiny bit too small and then go up another needle size to compensate, and come to find out that like because of the weight of the sweater and everything, like it really does pull it to the right size. And so I'm getting used to that, like trying to figure out how to work out what swatches are being honest about and what they're lying dirty bastards about. I feel relatively confident with this one because it does stretch a lot this way. I think I got row gauge pretty close, and so row gauge doesn't really bother me usually if it's a pattern like this where you could just keep knitting until you get to a certain length. So and it's meant to be an oversized sweater too, so there's a lot going for it as long as my gauge wasn't super short. That was my main concern. And so I did measure it a bunch of times. And so I won't say that's going to be my next sweater, but I'm tempted to cast it on. So keep an eye out. That one might be coming up. So the check I think is my only finished object for this week. Excuse me. So, okay. So I finished the check. The check was awesome because I started it right at the beginning of the year. Right before the beginning of the year, and it was really quick because it was worsted weight and cropped and blah 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 blah, and I got done and it felt like all I have to do is stuff that like I have to do, like I'm knitting for other people or whatever, and like I'm probably a 95% selfish knitter. Like most everything I knit is for myself, or if I knit it for myself and then give it away, something like that. So last time I talked to you guys, I was working on starting a cowl for my mom, and it was sort of less than ideal yarn circumstances, so I was not really looking forward to it. And so I just kind of kept bouncing around. Like I worked on some hats, and I picked up some like languishing whips and just some other things. So I don't know if you guys want to see all that. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to really show it to you all, but I'll show you what I've ended up working on. So 2 new whips essentially. So I actually started one project just to kind of get me out of the funk of like I have to do all this stuff because I'm also working on like a baby blanket for a friend and some other things that I just honestly wasn't super excited about. So one thing that I started, which is in this bag, I don't actually use this bag very often, but I really like it. It says "You Are My Sunshine," and my grandmother used to sing that to me when I was little. So that has always been a big thing for me to hear. So I started one of my Make 9 2019 or whatever the hashtag is projects, and what I'm working on is the caramel pine shawl. So I'll show you the pattern real quick, and then I'll show you how far I've got. So this is the pattern. This is what it kind of looks like when it's done. So it's basically a triangular shawl that you knit, and then once you get down to the wherever you're going to stop at the point, you bind off one side, and then you basically just keep working rows back and forth to make the other tail. So it's a really unique, and again, new to me construction, so it's really interesting. And I've liked this, like I really like the color mixture in the pattern. So mine is basically the opposite of that, but that's really what drew me to it in the first place. So I'm knitting this with yarn from Hooker's Corner and the Blackberry Ridge, I believe. And so I'll just show you let me make sure I've got the right side first. Okay. So this is how far I've gotten. So it's kind of got here's the point. So it's just that striping. You can see it's kind of the inverse of what you saw in the pattern. Like it's, where the light color was, I've done the dark, and vice versa. So I'm a little worried it's not gonna be super big. I guess the worst case is I can just keep going and knit it till, because like this is one end. So, I mean, it's, I guess I can stretch it out, but it doesn't seem like it's very big. I'm losing stitches if I'm not careful. So, sorry guys. Oh, shoot. So this is what I've gotten done. I did a lot of it in like 2 days. And then I've kind of just been picking it up here and there since then. So I'm on the last part of the triangle, which is basically a lot of garter stitch. So it's nice and relatively relaxing. It's got some eyelets in it every now and then. And then I'm really excited to see how it works up once I get to the other part where it's just kind of going back and forth, and to see how the construction works out. So this white color is the Blackberry Ridge, and I think it's called Crisp Air. I got it a little like in the fall, so it felt very fall-y, and I really like how it complements the other color, because the other color has a lot of like shifting, sort of woods on fire colors. The other color is called Wildfire, so that's actually an apt description, but it feels a little weird to say. If you know the backstory behind Hooker's Corner and what's happened to her in the last couple of months, her house was destroyed in the wildfires in California, which is really unfortunate. And luckily she really had people rally around her. But one of my favorite colors was one that she dyed called Wildfire, so that's this color. But it's really beautiful. It's got like, transitions between this sort of bright pinky red to orange to like sort of subtle brown taupe, and then the Crisp Air is a nice cream, but it's got really dark pops of brown and orange to kind of set off from the Wildfire. So I'm really pleased with how this is going. I feel like I did a good job picking the colors for this for what I wanted. It's a lot different than any of my other shawls, which for a while there I felt like I was just knitting a lot of like gray shawls. I mean, it was by design. I needed some neutral shawls, but now I'm like, I need some more colored shawls that I could wear with more stuff. So I feel like this is filling the next gap. And what else did I want to say about this? Yeah, it's been good. I think one of the things I've realized in the past couple of weeks, and especially with the weird attitude I had after finishing the chuck and not knowing how to get into something else. So most knitters I think have thought of or heard or know or think of how themselves as either being a process or a product knitter. And for those of you who are new or not knitters or have no idea what I'm talking about, so you are a process knitter if you just really enjoy the act of knitting, like if the rhythmic nature of it and the repetitiveness and the accomplishment of kind of just moving along in a pattern is what you enjoy, like that's it, being a process knitter. Versus a product knitter is someone that like they might like knitting, but they care more about it to get to the finished product, hence product knitter. And So you hear a lot of times with product knitters that they're like, I just want to be done. Like, I just want to get, like, I hate this. Like, I just want to be done, because they're impatient to get to the final product. And I've always thought of myself as being a process knitter for the most part. And it's a spectrum, right? Like, it's not like I'm 100% this and someone else is 100% the other thing and what have you. Obviously, we're in the middle. But I feel like I've started shifting more toward the product knitter. And I think there's two reasons for that. So I think one is that I'm finally knitting things that, like, I can wear, and learning to put together things that I really like and want to wear. And also that a lot of my, well, and because, like, you know, I'm knitting bigger projects. So I'm knitting sweaters, and I'm knitting 3-skein shawls, and I'm knitting, you know, things that are a pretty big investment of time. So there, you do always hit that slump, or, you know, where you're just like, oh my God, this is taking forever. And I don't know if I can anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, sometimes my whips go to timeout island because I just can't for right now. Like, I'm not saying I can't forever, I just can't for right now. So, and I always feel bad when they go to timeout island for that reason, because, like, they didn't do anything wrong. Like, they're not misbehaving. They're trying my patience. So I have some things that are in timeout island because of that. And I actually did work on those a little bit too, while I was kind of in my, like, weird, like, what do I work on now? But none of them, like, enough that I'd be like, oh, here's something to show you. So, but all of them got, like, maybe an inch or two of love. So that's good. But so starting to care more about, like, having a closet full of sweaters, or having, you know, a bunch of shawls that I can wear with different things, is wonderful. It's just unfortunate when it feels like you want to knit all the things, and you want to knit all of the time, and you're still not getting anywhere toward making a dent in the stash or your, you know, your queue or whatever. So for full confession right now, I mean, I haven't been doing this for very long, so you guys have probably already watched the last couple episodes and I think have a vague idea of what I've got on the needles. But I've got my B Street sweater on the needles. I've got a Nightshade, I think, pattern on the needles, and I've got a, what's the name of that last one? It's a Tin Can Knits very basic sweater, and I'm forgetting the name of it. Yeah, I don't remember, but it's, like, the most basic, like, it's everybody's first sweater pattern. So they've all been kind of languishing, and I'm starting to work on them again, and I want all of them, but I also would rather start working on a new sweater too. So I think I remember last time I was like, I'm doing so well at just, like, focusing and finishing things, and I'll see how long that lasts. It didn't last very long. I don't think anyone's probably very surprised by that. Famous last words and all that, right? So anyways, back to the shawl. That's why I started knitting the shawl, because I just needed something new and different. And it was great, and it gave me something to work on for a little while until I was like, okay, now I'm ready to work on some other stuff. So that's the shawl that's in progress, and yeah, you'll see it again. It's still in the rotation. It just kind of depends. And again, like, I found myself a lot in the last, like, I don't know, 6 months, like, I feel like I went through a stage for, like, the first 6 months when I started knitting in, where it was like everything was like garter stitch and stockinette, and I was like, this is fantastic. Like, this is just getting me into the flow of it. Like, I'm going with the flow, and I'm gonna get all this stuff knocked out, and I did. And then I think I started getting bored with it, where I was like, oh my God, this is never gonna end. And so then I started doing a lot of projects where it was like, my B Street sweater is all lace, and that felt like it went really fast at the start, and now it just, I mean, it's still going, whatever. It's still fast, but it's not as fast as sitting down and doing stockinette. And I can't, you know, obviously you can't always like, take it to all the places. So and Chuck kind of met in the middle, but I felt like I had a lot of things for a while that it was like, I had to do specific things with. A lot of my shawls, like, had slip stitch and stuff like that, where I had to pay attention. So this is good because it's, you know, it's been a lot of garter and real simple stuff, so I could take it to knit night and work on it and make some progress. So I'm looking forward to having that. And I am very aware at the moment of all the, like, you know, it's February, it's early February, so it's not like winter's over, but to be fair, we did have an 80-degree day the other day, so apparently winter's the new summer, I guess, and I kind of hate that, because it's not supposed to be that freaking warm right now. So, like I'm not going to try and get stuff done for the winter because one, I could be sweaty tomorrow outside, because it could be 60 and I don't think 60 is winter. But you know, so I'm trying to take the approach of understanding that like creating your own wardrobe is like a long-term marathon, not a sprint. So I still might not have some of these sweaters until next winter, but whatever, I'll have them at some point. So that's helped a lot with my mindset to just be like, oh, okay, like chill the fuck out. It's fine. Like they'll get done at some point and you'll wear them and they'll be awesome and you're probably going to have them forever. Assuming I don't gain like 50 pounds and can't wear them. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? Fingers crossed. So the shawl got me over the hump and I was able to start working on the cowl for my mom. So Mom, this is your fair warning. You're welcome to keep watching, but if you want to be surprised, then you should probably like cut out now for at least a little bit. So I've already shown you the yarn. The yarn is Wool and the Gang Space Black. It is Feeling Good yarn. I don't know if that's focusing or not. Wool and the Gang, blah, blah, blah. So nice and fuzzy, very warm. It's a 50 gram, 142 yards, 70% baby alpaca, 7% merino, 23% nylon. It's kind of like I guess it's a bulky weight, but it's very light, so it doesn't necessarily feel like that. So, okay, Mom, I'm going to show it. So if you don't want to see it, exit the ride now. And I say that, and it might not matter because it's black and it's dark in here, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it anyways. I actually have not tried it on yet. So basically, this is one of those constructions. Yeah, it's not great. So this is one of those constructions that starts out like basically like a circular shawl, and you just knit it until it's basically long enough to go around your neck, and then you join it in the round and just kind of knit it as a tube from there down. So it's nice because it gives it more bulk in the front than the back. So this is actually, I'm trying to see, I haven't tried it on yet. So, and I have it on a really tight needle, so there's that too. And it needs to be, I don't know if you guys can see this at all. I hope you can. If not, I'll try and do another podcast sometime where it's like actually where I don't have fuzz all over my lips. But it's very warm. So basically I just kind of made this up as I went, which helped a lot because it was fun. Like I was like, okay, I've always, like I've knit a couple of these like cowlets or cowl hybrids. Sorry guys. I've knit one of these shawl cowl hybrids before, and I put chapstick on before I started filming, and now I have fuzz covering my face. So I knit one of these when I started, and I really like them because if you don't like having to mess with tails and you just want something kind of cozy around your neck, then like this is a really good construction for it. So it's basically just and like when you make one of these, like you can just look up how to make a circular shawl or a half circle shawl, and then like I said, just knit it in whatever pattern you want until you get it, until like it's basically long enough along the edge that it can be bound so you can stick your head through it. And the way you do that is like I think every time it doubles in size lengthwise, you're supposed to double the number of stitches. I am not an expert on this, so definitely just ask the Googles and don't trust what I said. But what I ended up doing was, you know, just kind of working a little half, and then like every time I had to do an increase, I would just do a yarn over knit two together row so that it would I would do a yarn over knit one so that it would double the number of stitches that I was working on. So it, you know, kind of has these, you know, it goes like this, and then it goes like this, and then it goes like this, and then it goes like this, until eventually it goes like this, and then you knit a tube. So kind of the style I went with was a lot of, try to make sure I'm going to pull in some of the needles. Again, I don't know if you can see this. I can't see it on my phone very well. So it's just got a lot of, so basically, here, let me look at it and I can explain what it is. So basically what I ended up doing was a lot of like garter stitch rows with eyelet rows thrown in. And then I did, a couple rows of stockinette. And then I would do, 3 more rows where I could probably reverse engineer the pattern if anyone is interested, if you could see it well enough to tell what it even looks like. But it's just, it's basically like mixed sections of garter and stockinette with eyelet rows in both. And then one of the reasons I kind of have stopped is that so the really nice thing was, one, I was engaged with it because I was making it up as I went along, so that was fun. And 2, I had to go to a 2-day training and where we talked about finance, and I don't know if anyone else is into that stuff, but it's like really super boring. So I needed something to kind of keep me engaged. And I always feel bad. I always want to like raise my hand and be like, do you think this is rude? Do you feel like I'm being rude if I'm knitting while you're talking, presenter person? Because I just want to clarify that like I'm actually doing this to be polite, because I will pay more attention if I'm knitting and watching and listening to you talk than if I sit there and I'm bored and I get on my phone and then I'm looking at Instagram, and then we all know what happens once you get on your phone. And I looked around the room and like everybody's on their phone, and I was like, I know this is boring as hell for like 50% of these people at least, but I was like, I'm paying attention. I'm here. I'm into it. So it was nice. I had basically a day and a half that I basically got to work on it while that was happening. And it was in a really like brightly lit classroom, and so it was like, this is the perfect condition for working with this yarn because it's super bright and I could see what was happening and I was sitting upright and I had all this time. So thank you, School of Government Finance class, for helping me work on my mom's cowl. So this is kind of the shape of it right now. As you can see, it's still on the needles. So I'm not sure exactly how big around it's going to be. It's a little bit bunched up right now. I did get some bigger needles to work on. So I'm at the point right now where I'm kind of knitting stockinette, and I feel like I need to do a little bit more, like a couple more rows, and then probably do a big chunky section of like garter stitch to kind of cast off. So I've got a whole nother skein of yarn. I think it seemed like the first one went so long, and then the second one is like almost gone. And it's one of those, where you, like, this is how much I have left to get where I am now. So 2 of those. And I did have, this is the original try that I gave, and then I decided it was easier just to rip it off and start fresh. So, yeah, I'm pleased with how it's turning out. Like I said, that was the first time I've even put it on, so I want it to have some more length in the back as well, just so she can kind of pull it up and it'll kind of go up here if she wants it to. But, I think, as of right now, I think it's gonna, kind of do what she wants, which will give her, something to kind of tuck into if she wants to have something cozy around her neck. So, Mom, I hope you didn't mind being surprised, because I don't know when to tell you to come back. But I guess I'm pretty much done talking about this. So I will put it away. And if you are still watching, Mom, or not watching, words are hard at 10 o'clock at night. But so yeah, that's progressing well. I'm super happy with it. I just have to kind of like settle back in and get it done. So those are the 2 main things I've been working on. I've also been working on my B-Street a little bit, which I'm at that point in the body where it's like you're just trucking along for 40 inches, whatever. So let's see where I'm at. So okay, trying to make sure I don't lose everything. So if you recall, B Street has this beautiful like all over lace lace pattern, and then the sleeves will be stockinette, and this is the sleeve that I started knitting because I was getting bored, and then I realized that having 4 balls of yarn going at once was way too much, so I ended up taking them off. But so I am this little, can you see? This is what my dog looks like. I love this. I got like a set of them. But they're super cute. They're from Wee Ones. She does these clay, a lot of animals and stuff like that, and she had done one before. And put a photo of it before I went to the Southeast Animal Fiber Festival. And so I was like, please make some more of those. I'm coming to get them tomorrow. So that's my dog Early, if you can see her. And so that's about, I don't know, maybe about 2 inches, 1.5 inches. So I'm not doing too bad. I mean, that's the, basically where the sleeve starts. So that's probably a good, I don't know, 9-10 inches, something like that. I haven't tried it on in a while, but I did try it on and it fit pretty well. It doesn't have any shaping to it. And sorry, it's been a while since I've shown you guys that one. So the wool is periwinkle sheep on her delirium base. And the colorway is, I want to say Antidote. This is really beautiful, like acidic bronzed green color. I'm really excited to have it. So I'm glad I've been working on it. And it doesn't have any waist shaping or anything like that. So I'm trying to decide if I need to add some shaping at the hips at the bottom. The pattern, I don't think will lend super well to just adding something in. Sorry. So I've been thinking about maybe just adding some, like a triangle of ribbing on each side as I get toward the end. I don't know if that'll look weird or not, but I haven't really got to that point where it matters yet. So, yeah, that's kind of it. And what else? I'm trying to think what else to talk to you guys about. It's been pretty quick, all things considered, even with my loud and angry conversation at the beginning. So, I did want to show you guys a couple things that I got. One I've actually had for a little while, but I kept forgetting to show it, and I wanted to show it because, Suzanne, who is part of the little knitting group that I started, that we had our second one, and so it was Suzanne and Rachel and I, and we're all Doctor Who fans, I think. So I was telling them last time we were there that I had gotten these Doctor Who stitch markers from A Needle Runs Through It. And, when I got back into knitting, there were all these things that I feel like people didn't make before. Like, I feel like the knitting world has changed so much in 5 years. Like, when I stopped knitting, I mean, I didn't stop, but I just didn't do it very much or buy yarn or anything in like 2015, and I came back in like late 2017. I feel like there didn't used to be very much independently dyed yarn. It used to be really like you'd walk into a yarn store and it was like hardcore, like Cascade, Debbie Bliss, sort of your big commercial dyers. I feel like they didn't have all these little trinkets and stuff that you do, like stitch markers and progress keepers and project bags and everything like that. So I'm not sure what's happened. I mean, it's awesome, like not a bad thing at all, but it's just, it seems like it's really exploded in terms of the stuff. Maybe it was all there before and I just didn't know, and now I'm more exposed to it because of podcasts and stuff like that. But deep breath. Anyways, so A Needle Runs Through It does these awesome wood stitch markers, and I got some from her that are sort of the not safe for work ones at the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival. And I saw that she had posted some new ones that she'd done that were Doctor Who related, and they were awesome. So I was like, basically, if you can do the Amazon one click on a private person's shop, then that's basically what happened. So if you're not a Doctor Who fan, I apologize. This might be boring, but if you are, I would definitely say run, don't walk over to grab some of these. So I'm not really sure how to show these the best because they're tiny. So I'm getting super up close. I don't know if you can see. So that one says Exterminate. It's a Dalek. You got ones like K9, which is a little before my Doctor Who time. I think that's supposed to be like Infinity. You got a little teeny tiny TARDIS. The Weeping Angels. Oh God. Sorry guys. There we go. Okay. Let's see. What have I missed? Oh, and the Cybermen. So I like those because when I've looked for like Doctor Who stitch markers before, because that's probably one of my bigger fandom things, and just didn't really find any that I really liked. Yeah, for various reasons, just not really my cup of tea. But I saw those and I was like, that's awesome. Like, they're very clear and sharp, and her stuff's always really good quality. The downside is that I almost never use those kind of stitch markers. I tend not to like ones that have a lot of dangly stuff. It's just either sometimes I'll like turn them into progress keepers or whatever, but honestly, if I just have them and know I have them as a thing that I enjoy, that's enough. So that was a little treat that I bought myself. And in terms of fiber acquisitions, I'm kind of in a down period right now. I'm not really buying anything because I think the buying craze that I went through this time last year has really like caught up with me in terms of both expenses and just, I've got a lot of yarn. There's some holes certainly in my stash, but nothing that like I can go crazy about. So, but I do have a couple things that I kind of fell down on. So one was that I bought this skein of yarn from Witch Candy, who's a dyer. She does, I think, pretty small batches. And hers, it's kind of like when you see that she's updated, she's one that you have to like run right over and grab everything. This is her card. So this is a 70, 20, 10, I think, merino silk cashmere. 430 yards. Colorway is Blue Horizon. So it just was really beautiful, and like I tend to gravitate toward these like blue and green and orange colors. So I just really loved it and was like, yep, that one's coming home. She does another colorway called Birch Fire, I think, that's like a really vibrant, like burnt orange that fades into sort of like a whitish gray with black speckles, so it's like a birch tree, and I don't know why, but like I'm really attracted to birch trees. So that was one that I also fell down on because I was like, and it was funny because I got there to the shop update when that one was available, and I think the only one they had left was like the top of the line, like 600 yards, and I was like, I don't even care. Yes, that one I would probably never have bought it if I'd had options, but I was like, that's probably the best because then I'll be able to make a shawl out of it, one color, it'll be beautiful. So yeah, I don't think you've seen that one yet. But it kind of is always in the back of my mind, like waiting for the perfect project. So, but I was really excited when this came, and super fast shipping. It's just beautiful. And I think this is something that like, if I'm not sure what to do with it, like now that I have it, I'm like, okay, I still really like this, but this one might just have to marinate for a while. So, we'll see what it ends up becoming. And the other thing that I bought was, I don't have it yet. It is a mystery club from, I believe, Dragon Horde Yarns. But so she's doing I'm not sure if she's doing, I don't know what the rest of the months are, but the month that I bought, she's doing like a cartoon inspired yarn club. And this month, I don't know if it's February or what, I just bought it like a week or two ago, so it's not like it's been that long, but it's inspired by Gravity Falls. So if you don't know what Gravity Falls is, it is a cartoon show that was on the Disney Channel like maybe 5 years ago. I just discovered it like a year or two ago. I think there's only 2 seasons maybe. But it's about these twins that go to live with their uncle in like this weird like mystery town in Oregon, and one of the characters, Mabel, she knits all these crazy sweaters, and they have like lights, and she knits them for her pigs so that they can have matching sweaters. It's just awesome. Like that's one of those things, like I'm a big fan of sort of, I don't know what to call it. Like, it's not really mainstream cartoons, right? And like adult cartoons I enjoy too. But I like kid ones. I like ones that are geared toward teens, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, doesn't matter. But like, so Gravity Falls, Star versus the Forces of Evil, the DuckTales, because that's just nostalgia. Like all those Disney cartoons. Like I grew up on cartoons. Like I don't care if I'm an adult watching cartoons. Like I love cartoons. So, and the funny thing is, like I really love that one. And my dad of all people was like, have you watched Star versus the Force of Evil? So I got hooked on that one too. So if anyone ever decides to do a yarn club for Star versus the Force of Evil, even if it's like bright ass pink, which is not my favorite color by any stretch of the imagination, message me, because I will be there for that. Because stuff like that, it's, you know, like I know they have followings. Like I've started getting into like tarot cards a little bit, and it was funny. I was looking and they had like a Gravity Falls major arcana. And I was like, I don't need that, but I kind of want it. So that's in my shopping list somewhere. But yeah, so I'll show that to you guys when I get it in. But other than that, I haven't really bought anything new. So thanks again to everybody who stopped over from Chevy's, Chevy Rails podcast. And I really appreciate you stopping by and saying hi. Feel free to check in on me over at Instagram. I'm Bittersweet Betty NC. If you want to find me on Ravelry, I'm Bittersweet Betty. But yeah, that's the main two places I hang out. And yeah, I look forward to talking to y'all soon. Bye.